Hey guys, what's up? And welcome back to IC3D. Today I'm looking at showing off my new indie game that will be releasing later this year, hopefully in the December holidays. So, the point of this video is to show the design and how I came up with this indie game. Now, full disclosure, this is my first indie game and I've learnt a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes, but to be transparent, that's what everybody does. So, and we have to start somewhere. So let's jump into this now. Before I start going into some of the nitty gritties, I started this out and I wanted to set some guidelines and some requirements for myself, just to keep on track and understanding on where things are. So here are my requirements. So number one, 8 months part time. So I don't make games full time. I started out as a hobbyist, and I work full time. So I wanted to do this relatively quickly, 8 months part time, which means it had to be a small game if I was ever going to finish it. But to make it more uh, fleshed out, to make it have a bit more substance, I wanted to make the game loop reusable in terms of having the game technical requirements reuse upon itself, providing an easy way of making gameplay. So that was the requirement number two. Number three, keep it simple. First game, let's not get crazy. Let's just do the basics. And step number four, and this might be the important one, which is learn. I want to not just learn game dev in terms of making games, but I wanted to learn everything that went around it. So, marketing, making pictures, making UI, making models, making everything else that goes along with it. Trying to set up the Steam store, geez, that was just a learning in itself. You know, making builds and publishing to Steam and all those sorts of things. There's so much that I didn't realize that goes into game making other than making the game. So a lot of that took longer than lots of the gameplay that I made. But and this is how we do it. We learn. So it's good. And I haven't got it here, but I also did have a small budget in mind, so I didn't want to spend more than around $500-600 of my own money to for this requirement, because one of my requirements that I don't have is commercial success. So the point of this was not to make money; it was to learn how to do this well enough so for the next game I could make money. Now, I've got this slide, and this is just a quick concept of what my game was going to be. It's going to be a horror game because I'm a fan of horror games. And it was going to be, I wanted something simple, a big, long, linear type story game. I just wasn't going to be able to complete it within my time frame. So, one type of horror game that was quite popular and I've actually enjoyed playing are the anomaly type games. So, think of Exit 8. That got quite popular, so I wanted to try a game like that, and that looks pretty simple and should be easy to complete. So I didn't want to do the exact same thing. I wanted to have my own spin on it. So what I've done is I created a concept of 9 hallways. 8, exit 8, 9 is the next one. It's pretty original. Excuse me, just had a coughing fit. Okay, so the idea here is you are an agent of the hallways, and typically these hallways are just in connecting dimensions, and you would need to just go through them, and an agent would, you know, uh, do cosmic hallway stuff. Not much lore involved in this, but the idea is in these prior to these hallways being managed by the corporation, there used to be entities, and they were all rounded up, captured, locked away. But now they have escaped, and it's our job to detect them. So the game is pretty simple. You enter in a enter room. When you go through the door, you're greeted with a random hallway. This random hallway may or may not have an anomaly. It's your job to find that anomaly. At the end of the hallway you would then use a terminal to click red or green to say whether or not there's an anomaly. Green means it's good, red, bad. And then you would go through the exit, and the exit then would make you turn back to the hallway. Now, let's see this gameplay in action. What I will do is I will forego the intro. So one of the designs I used was this blueprint called a level director. Level director is basically there to manage what levels are being spawned, what's being played at certain times, and those sorts of things. So it's there as sort of the manager. And one of the things I did was create on the event begin play. I've got this play intro, which is just an audio track to give some, a little bit of story at the start, nothing crazy. So I'm gonna tick that off because it plays for maybe 20 seconds or so, and let's not get involved with it. So let's press play. Okay, so this is the game. So we are now in the enter room, and there's a hallway here. So the intro will tell you a bit of information, but there is this computer here. Now, this computer will tell you what time what number room you're on. So if we click on it, I am not. Let me just widen that a bit so we can see what's going on. Okay. So now we have some instructions, and this is to keep it so simple. Hopefully, this is easy enough for players to read. And then we'll click exit because basically this is just what I've told you before. 0 will always be a control room, which means we know that when the player first starts, this is the control room, which means that it will be what they can compare against. So this is what is expected. Okay, I'm not going to go through too much of the game because this is more about the design than the game itself. And there's some things over here. So here's where they would go, okay, green, red, green. So this is the control room, so it's good. I go through it, and there we've got basically a trigger that will teleport the person back to that enter room. And when they go in, it'll go through some logic, and it will then spawn a room. So in here, this is now a newly generated room, and we're on the first room. So I do have some debug code that actually tells you what the room is to make it easier for myself, but I didn't look at it when it came up, so now I don't know. Let's have a look. No, that's good. Has to be something. Ah, yeah, monster. So red. Cool. So that did the whole thing. That's one loop, and we are at level 2 now. Well, room 2. Now that is the premise of the game. Short and sweet, and it should give some nice scares and that sort of thing in terms of horror. Let's have a little bit of a look at the level structure. So that screen, that presentation I showed you with the basic concept, here it is in real gameplay. We've got the enter room to the left here and the exit room on the right. And then in the space there, we've got actual the areas. So the way this works is there are multiple trigger boxes. So this here, it will control some of the lighting and the processing around when you enter this room, just so it looks a bit better when you're sort of entering and exiting. This trigger box here is actually used to teleport the player. So once they cross that threshold, they'll get teleported all the way back here. And in here, they will then come through, and this trigger box will do something that I cannot remember. It will do something. Let's just leave it at that. And then here, I'm pretty sure this one will actually lock the door behind them and close the door, so they can't re-enter it and try to break things. Yeah, so let's have a look at the blueprint. Event graph. Okay, so Here, let's not get too stuck into that. This is the logic here. And basically, once they go through, so player exited, that's a function that's called by, or an event rather, that's called by that hitbox I was talking about. Once they go through that door, they get teleported. This event is called to basically restart the level into a new beginning. And here we've got the set board number, which tracks the number of levels. Destroy actor, current hallway. So that's the current hallway. So here, when you've got the current hallway you've just completed, it needs to be deleted. So we'll go off and do that. Destroyables. This one here, I've tagged a bunch of things that may need to be destroyed that don't exist inside the current context. So sometimes you have to spawn a character or a light or something, and you can't really put it within the same blueprint, and then it becomes part of the parent level. You have to destroy it. Yeah, and then you've got the the comparison here, which is say basically if we're on level 10, which means we go to the win stage. And then here, which is probably one of the biggest loops, which is which is where it chooses the whole app. Now, this is a mess at the moment, so feel free to comment that. I completely take full responsibility of this mess, but it works, and I will clean it up eventually. I've just been furiously programming or developing. So one of the key things was I wanted to put in place a control that they wouldn't get a player wouldn't get more than they would never get a control room twice in a row. So they wouldn't have a nothing room, not twice in a row. So well, that as well, but I wanted them to have more chance, and I can't spell chance, of having an anomaly rather than a control room. So I've set that to around 70%. I've been mucking around with 80% as well. So let's just put that to 80 because I think 80 was working best. And then in here, we're going through and we're doing a shuffle of the master hallway. So here is an array, and these are all the current anomaly levels that I've developed. So I've developed 17 of them so far. And what it will do, it will shuffle them, and then it will take the first one on top and then do some comparisons. So in these levels, we have a few booleans just to track things. We have has been used, so as if it's ever been used, has it been completed, have they successfully completed it, and is it an entity type level, which means there are levels which are just really simple changes, like one of them is called a mirror, and it will mirror across to the other side of the rooms. There's no entity in it, and the entity ones are more engaging, I feel. So I wanted to mark certain ones as entities. That way, after, say, 3 attempts, if they never get, so this is what this comparison here is doing, after 3 attempts, if they haven't had an entity room, it would then choose an entity room randomly, because we want them to have a good time, right? We want to make it as enjoyable as possible. Then once that logic goes through, we put in the spawn actor blueprint, and that'll just spawn it. And I've got some constant location there that will eventually that will put it in the right place. And then we'll just go through a loop. And this is the big loop here. So this for each, it'll just keep going through all of that. Once it's completed, it'll come down here. After that, if all hallways have been used, it will just reuse it. So we'll just do a random to try and just pick up the next one. So if you've gone through all of them, it'll just do random ones again. Okay. Now, one of the other things I wanted to quickly discuss was the maps. So in here, this is something I could have done better. I use blueprints, but I think I should have used instanced levels instead, because the level the level editor slash controls within the blueprints are not great. So this is the base. So this is my main parent, and the rest of these are effectively child classes. So what that allowed me to do, and this is the reusable point in my requirements, is I have this base blueprint, right? In here, I set everything sort of to start up with, and then I make a child of it. And that way, let's say this poster, I want it to be moved, but I want it to be moved on every single every single instance of a random room. Then I could just move this, and it would then carry across to everything. The only times that wouldn't be the case is if I've manually changed this in another child, and it would just override it. So then from here, for example, I have the control room, which is basically the same as this, but I didn't want the control room to be the parent. I wanted the control room still to be separate. So for example, I've got this man at dog, which is one I've been working on, and I've actually finished. So I need to chuck that into the entity folder. So in here, I've got this, and I've got easy, entity, medium, and that's just me categorizing the difficulty levels of these rooms. So for example, let's go into the easy one. I have this one called Blood Puddle, and the only difference in here is that this has a blood. So I've just added a splatter. It's quite an easy level, and so if they see that, they can then say, okay, anomaly found, see a little red, and it goes through. And in the event graph, BP portal. So in the main level, we have where is it? I think it's over here. We have this. Click on it. Is that the right one? It is. So this one here. So this is a blueprint, and this blueprint not only does it move the character back to the starting position, it also detects if the person has given the right answer. So here we get the chooser options, which is an enum, and in that enum we have some set variables. So we have neutral, green, and red, I believe. I can't quite remember what I put there. It was a while ago when I developed that. But the point of it is we have an answer given and an answer needed. Now, when that goes through, if it's the correct answer, it will send that to the level director. The level director will take that and either set the counter to 0 because I've got it incorrect, or increment it to the next number if it's the right. And then in here, what I do is I override the answer needed. Because this is an anomaly based room, I'll say to that the answer needed is an anomaly. So if that is the case, then it will do it right. I've also spelled anomaly wrong here. I have to update that one. Okay. Cool. So yeah, and that's how the reset is done on each playthrough. Okay, the other thing I wanted to point out is to keep things simple as possible, I didn't want to create a character controller from scratch. So I actually used a marketplace asset to do this. And I've looked through many, and I have used a lot, not just in this attempting to use it in this game, but for all the hobby stuff I've done beforehand. And I have a love-hate relationship with marketplace assets, but this one is quite good. It's called first person framework something. First person first person framework. Don't know what the M stands for. Anyway, so in here, they've basically a first person controller, and it comes with the basics. And that's what I really like about it. It doesn't try to overwhelm you with options. It's got a really easy way of updating meshes and changing animations and setting everything that you would kind of expect. Now, I'll go into the demo just to show you what it looks like, because I don't think it's not one of the bigger marketplace assets or fab assets that it's called now, but it is quite good. So let's just save that, jump into it. Here we go. So it comes with multiplayer. That's what the M stands for. It is multiplayer. I've only used it in a single player game, but it is multiplayer. And I have tried in multiplayer with some other things for testing, because I bought this a while ago. The developer has kept it up to date, which is good. I lost my train of thought. Yes, so it comes with an interaction system, inheritance, switches, holdable. So this is probably the best part of it, to be honest. So you come in here, and what you can do is you can set a reference to the way you hold things. So you can't PSE, and it easily puts it up with animations. So it's one of the things I hate about games is when they have first-person controllers, but you're holding an item with no animations, and I didn't want to do that. And this just easily allowed me to do that. It's broken. It's probably because I have edited it for my game, and now all the reference spots are off for those items. Yes, I would say that is why. Yeah. I should have copied it. I didn't, but I'm not planning to reuse it for anything else. So that is unfortunate, but it's okay. So what I'll do is, let's get out of here. And let's go into the hallway. Maps, not images, maps, and main. So we're back to here, and I'm going to go into my level director. And one of the things I wanted to do was test really easily. So in order to do that, I just create this begin script. And then all I have to do is change this to the level I want to test. And so I've changed this to BP level dog, and this is one of the entity levels. And we can go in here and press play. Let's make sure we do it from the default start. Okay. Let's just hide that. Okay. So I've used that first person framework multiplayer asset to basically I've used it to model it on this gun. So you've probably seen the gun. It is the military asset that they've taken away now on Fab, unfortunately. But if you've got an old version of it, you can still use it. So I've easily put this up, and we can use this gun. So all these animations and features are included with the framework. The dog is not, obviously. Yeah, so you can still do everything. You've got interaction system. So when you go in here and you close a door, for example, that's a part of that asset. Shooting with this as well. Dog was annoying me. Yeah, it's a good asset if you want to make a first-person game and you just want the basics. There's no inventory system, so if you want an inventory, it doesn't include it. But the inventory, I didn't really need it. And the inventories are such a personal thing, and you might want to integrate a different one, or develop your own. I don't know. So That's the character. Am I thinking anything else? Not really. I think this is getting very long video as it is, so I might just keep it there. So if you want to see any more content on how I made this game or any specifics, please let me know in the comments. I will do my best to make a video. If you want to check this game out, I will leave a link out on Steam. Wishlist it, buy it when it comes out. That would be greatly appreciated. Again, I'm not doing this for revenue. It's going to be a couple of bucks. I'm not going to choose. I'm not going to be making an expense or anything. So you can have a look at it. Yeah, and enjoy. Hope you like the video. Thumbs up, subscribe, all that stuff. Thanks, guys. Bye.